Hello, this is Ashley and Trinity, and we are presenting the topic of climate change and natural disasters. The topics we covered include problems, causes, consequences, and contributions to climate change and natural disasters. The first problem, and one of the biggest problems of climate change and natural disasters, is the emission of greenhouse gases. This is the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gases that create carbon dioxide in the air. The gas emission is leading to global warming, and carbon dioxide and fossil fuels are things like coal and oil being burned, causing global warming, which leads to changing weather patterns and unbalance of nature. Another problem is the health of the overall population that is affected by many different causes of climate change and natural disasters, which I elaborate on later in this slide. Wildlife is another issue being affected by the changing climate and natural disasters occurring. Lastly, deforestation, livestock, and farming are other problems that cause changes to the planet. When the trees are cut down, the carbon stored in them is released, leading back to the release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. There are many causes of greenhouse gas emissions. One of them is overconsumption, which includes things like how much power you use, how you get around daily, what you eat, what you toss, and even the clothing you buy, wear, and sell. And which in the end can also lead to pollution, which affects the air we breathe and so forth. Overpopulation is another cause, and places that have higher population are affected more by it. The largest producers of greenhouse gas emissions are corporations, specifically the manufacturing of goods. Many companies use machines that run off coal, oil, and gas to run and produce what we use and consumers buy. Causes of health problems for individuals are very broad but impact everyone who lives on this planet. Thermal stress and air pollution both affect the air. Thermal stress has to do with the temperature of the air, and climate change and natural disasters are causing them to dramatically increase. Air pollution is caused by overconsumption and contamination of the earth. Another thing that is concerning to people's health is that it's caused by contamination and is infectious diseases that people acquire from things like flooding and other natural disasters. One of the hardest problems individuals and families face, caused mainly by natural disasters, but also by climate change, is the aftermath of certain events. A lot of natural disasters cause these individuals and families to displace from their homes and can lead to homelessness and poverty. The loss of wildlife is significantly impacted by climate change and natural disasters. With the rising temperatures caused by climate change, things like the reproduction of species and finding food have become difficult for many animals. Another large complication wildlife face is the loss of their habitat. Natural disasters can and have taken the homes of many of these living creatures, and just like humans, it can be difficult to relocate, causing them to die off, which eventually leads to the extinction of all these different species. The last cause of the loss of wildlife has to do with water. While the sea has too much, the land has too little. The high sea levels can cause flooding, in which turns causes damage to the ecosystem of many wildlife, and the lack of water or drought that occurs on land removes the ability for animals in the wild to be able to drink water and stay alive. Extreme weather events can damage infrastructure like roads, bridges, and buildings, which disrupts essential services and hinders economic development. Natural disasters disrupt supply chains by damaging transportation routes and manufacturing facilities, which leads to shortages of goods and service and affects people's access to these. Climate change events can force communities to relocate, leading to social isolation and displacement, and has challenging in access to resources and integrating to new communities. Climate change contributes to air pollution, which can lead to respiratory problems and cardiovascular diseases, and natural disasters pose health risks like injuries and waterborne diseases and mental health issues due to trauma and displacement. Climate change can force migration as people flee from affected areas, straining resources and infrastructure and leading communities. Natural disasters disrupt agriculture, leading to food shortages and malnutrition, and especially in vulnerable populations, impacting people's health and well-being. Climate change leads to shifts in temperature and precipitation patterns affecting ecosystems like forests, wetlands, and coral reefs. Natural disasters such as wildfires and hurricanes can further disrupt habitats, leading to the loss of biodiversity. Rising temperatures and changes in weather patterns force species to adapt or migrate to new habitats. This migration can disrupt food webs and alter species interactions, leading to changes in the ecosystem structure and function. Natural disasters like floods and storms can physically reshape landscape, altering soil, water flow patterns, and vegetation. These changes can impact nutrient cycling, water quality, and the ability of ecosystems to provide essential services like flood regulation. Climate change increases global temperatures, leading to heat stress in ecosystem and species. Heat waves can damage plant and animal populations, disrupt breeding patterns, and affect water, affecting both ecosystems on land and in water. Policies and regulations for the impacts of climate change and prevent damage from natural disasters. This includes land use planning, building codes, and government's resources and coordinate emergency response efforts to aid the affected communities. They assist with things like shelter, food, medical care, and evacuation plans during disasters. Additionally, states play a crucial role in long-term recovery by funding reconstruction efforts and providing support to affected individuals and businesses. The federal government provides financial aid and resources to support disaster-affected areas. This assistance includes funding for emergency response effort, relief programs for affected individuals, and grants to support rebuilding and recovery. Federal agencies have resources to rebuild critical infrastructure damaged by natural disasters. This includes rebuilding roads, bridges, utilities, and public facilities to restore their services and ensure community reliance. Federal agencies collaborate with local governments to contribute disaster response and recovery efforts. They offer technical experience, logical support, and guidance to help communities navigate the complex process of rebuilding and restoring after a disaster. Nations with significant resources and populations often provide aid and support to affected regions globally. They offer financial assistance, humanitarian aid, and technical expertise to help communities recover from natural disasters and adapt to climate change impacts. International organizations coordinate global assistance efforts in response to climate-related events and natural disasters. Their cooperation between countries mobilize resources and provide aid to vulnerable populations affected in these such events.